Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/theobservernj. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified. Hi again, everybody. It is Kevin Canessa coming to you live from the home studio today on the first day of July in the year 2025. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesdays, no matter where it is you are in the country. Here in the Northeast, 87 degrees. Tony is not with us today. He will be back next week, but he is not here with us today. So that is your weather forecast. We have a lot to get to today. Last week was the Kearny Town Council meeting, and there were so many things that happened at that meeting that were great but ridiculous at the same time that we're going to go over all of them. And I'm going to show you a bunch of clips from the meeting last week. And I'm going to start off by showing you a clip that happens after Councilwoman Eileen Eckel voted against the budget for the first time. Just keep in mind, everybody voted for this budget, and it came out to a 5-4 vote at first. A 5-4 vote is not good enough, and it has to be 6-3 vote, and a 2/3 majority of the council. When they first took the vote failed. The budget would not have gone through. There was a lot of thinking that didn't happen before the vote took place. They eventually took another vote. It passed 9-0. Cooler heads prevailed. But some things happened in the time in between the two votes that were so obscene that you need to know about it. And you wouldn't necessarily know about it if you didn't go to the council meeting. It was 100 degrees in there. The air conditioning wasn't working. It was a complete sweat fest that evening. Or if you didn't watch the video of the meeting. So what I've done is I've cut up the meeting from last week into several segments. The first one we're going to take was right after Councilwoman Eileen Eckel voted no for the budget, and it got to Councilman Jerry Facito. This is where things start right away. I may pause this and make a couple of comments in between, but I'm going to let, for the most part, these go through, and then I will address each of the comments that are made in the video after they're done. So we'll start now with Councilman Facito and Councilwoman Eckel discussing the budget.
Councilman Facito.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. What's a little disconcerting is for the last 20 years, why weren't we addressing the water infrastructure, Councilwoman?
Well,
Why weren't we adjusting?
if you're asking me a question, I'll answer it to the best of my
Why
ability.
weren't we addressing the roofs
Listen,
that were leaking?
we were addressing them.
No, we weren't.
The water
Every time,
infrastructure.
I was told that every time someone brought an estimate for a roof, it got tossed in the garbage can right in front of them.
First of all, I don't think you need to yell at me. I can hear
I'm
you.
not yelling. I'm
You-
hoarse because I have a little bit of a cold.
Well, you talk a little lower.
All right, this is the first place where I'm going to stop. Are you kidding me? Talk a little lower? Talk a little lower. Could you be a little bit more obnoxious, perhaps, next time, Councilwoman? Number one, Councilman Facito is not yelling at all. Number two, he's not your student in the classroom. He's your colleague. And he wasn't yelling. I don't know what I'm yelling right now because that is so infuriating. Keep it down. Keep it down. Children, behave, please. But in no way was Councilman Facito yelling at her at all. Keep it down.
Anyway, my point here is I'm not.
Why weren't the roofs addressed?
Jerry, it's not my responsibility to explain why the whole mayor and council for the last 20 years made the decisions they made. I know what decisions I made with the information that I had available to me, the same as you did. You sat on this council. How many years have you been on the council? 6, 7, 6 years? So in the last 6 years, have you ever voted no on the budget?
I
Ever?
don't believe I have.
No, why? The same issues that exist now existed then. Why didn't you vote no? Why didn't you question it then? Because you believed that what you were getting as far as information, and when we looked at the amount of money we had left, and we said, okay, well, we're okay because we have surplus and we have reserves. We're gonna be okay. We can keep our taxes stable, which was a big issue for everybody sitting up here.
And now we have to address the water issue. We have to address the roof issue because almost all of the buildings are leaking.
But we cannot do that in a way that's irresponsible. We have to make sure that we save something in case we need it
And it is being saved.
until next year. And then what? And then what? It's a concern. It's a real concern.
Can do 1 year at a time.
Well, we haven't done 1 year at that time in the past. In the past, we had a 5-year plan or a 6-year plan, figuring out what we needed to do. There were always proposals from the CFO to how could we cut? How could we save? And most of them had to do with cutting resources or cutting staffing. And not many people had the appetite for that, right?
That's
There
true.
were many years where we negotiated really hard with unions to make sure that we could hold the line and keep taxes stable. And they weren't happy with us all the time because of those negotiations. And we held the line there. We held it really hard. The reason the water rate kept it as it was is because we owned that water, and the residents of the town felt for a long, long time that, we owned it and we shouldn't have sold it. That's the way they saw it. And I think probably it was some conversations that we had multiple times about how keeping that water rate low was kind of a bonus to the townspeople in Kearny. We've had
That's incorrect.
We've had very, very great services in our town. We're very fortunate. We have garbage pickup twice a week. We had the lowest water bills in the state of New Jersey in the town of
The
Kearny.
reason, Councilwoman, if I could interrupt, is that we subsidize the water from our
That's right.
budget by $3 million. We should have been raising the water rates slowly all of those years. And at that time, it was voted no.
And I'm going to tell you why it was voted no. They didn't say it last week, but I will say it for you. The reason why they didn't raise those water rates over the years is because the former mayor told them not to raise the water rates. And if you look back at that period of time, Mayor Santos was on the council at that point for, I don't know, at that point 15 years when all of this started, maybe a little bit longer than that. And at that point in time, they were all lockstep and key and did what he said. And so they were kind of coaxed into this thinking that it was going to be a beneficial thing. And now we know it's not. People make mistakes. But the mistakes that were made back then were because they were told this is how we need to do it. And there was so little dissent back then. There was so little pushback that they just went ahead and did it. And they kept the water rates low. Now they can't do it. So I want that to be very clear, that there is no one person responsible for this, but one who is no longer there. And that is incredibly important for you to know when this is all being discussed. It was not discussed last week.
So now we're paying that price.
Understood, but
It's 3
council,
million that we now have to keep in our own budget.
with all due respect, Mayor, you were on that vote as well, and you voted the same way as
Exactly
everybody
what I'm
else.
saying. Yes.
Again, because
The
that's how
leadership
they
at
were
that
told
time
to
said that
vote.
was the way to go.
Leadership
We did-
made suggestions, but those suggestions were followed by the people.
we
And
did vote
because
for
they
it.
thought that we thought we were doing the right thing at the
We did.
time. So now I'm speaking because I feel like this is not the right thing to do at this time. I don't think it's fiscally responsible. And that's my opinion. I've never held my opinion back. I've always said it, whether you were the mayor or Santana was the mayor or Santos was the mayor. I've always spoken my mind, and I'm not going to stop doing it now.
No one's asking.
I love when they get to throw in that Santana was the mayor for 3 months. Like that mattered at all in any of this. He wasn't part of budget discussions. If he was, it had no impact whatsoever. They always throw that part in there. They just love to remind you that they appointed him mayor for 3.5 months a couple of years ago. It's kind of comical. But again, You have to realize this, folks. When that was happening, when that was all going down, they were misled. They were led to believe this was the right thing to do. Then one day it came pretty clear this was not the right thing to do. And now everybody's paying the price. Everybody is paying the price. A few votes later, Councilman Fred Steves became the voice of reason. And I want you to hear his voice as he votes yes for the budget the first time.
Okay, I should be okay now. Was off. I just want to say that saying no to this budget, it means 20% layoffs. Reduce services for the public, such as police and fire, on all departments in government as well. The damage, I think, is already done. So we're going to have to cover to take care of what is needed. As Facido mentioned, yes, mayors neglected many things. Did you ever wonder why there was no taxes raised in the past years, probably 10 years? There's a reason why, because things were neglected, and now we stuck with the problem. And and everything came out once. Instead of gradually fixing things throughout the years, we're stuck with it for this year. So I think it's wrong to say no to the budget, considering that we do have problems. And I think we should consider looking at things in the future. Someone mentioned we should look at things in the future, and we should learn from this. And perhaps we will never be in this situation again. Obviously, I have to say yes.
Now, if you take a look at that, that was pretty stunning. A 20% layoff across the board. So if you were and listen, it didn't matter who. Okay, if you were a police officer, if you were a firefighter, if you worked for DPW, if you worked for town hall, if you worked in the health department, if you worked in so many different departments, if that vote did not pass, which it eventually did, as I mentioned, after 2 votes, 20% cut across the board. And here's the thing. They wouldn't get to decide who made the cuts. It would be the state of New Jersey, because when a budget is defeated, they make the decisions. Does the state? They would not have known who was being cut or what the reasons were. It just would have been done. They wouldn't have been able to look at the names of people and say, maybe it would be good if we laid off department heads because their salaries are greater, or whatever the situation is. The state would have done that. So that's the position that the 4 who voted against the budget would have put the town in had they not realized, 20%? And the state gets to decide? I don't know if that's such a good idea. We didn't want to do, we don't want to go through this again. We didn't want to go through this again. And unfortunately, it was Zapata, it was Theodoropoulos, it was Solano, and Eckel who voted against this. And I'm glad they changed their mind, but they were the ones who initially would have ultimately, I say, be responsible for all those layoffs. The mayor, but they're not happening now. The mayor then chimes in.
Before I vote yes, I just want to say that Councilman Zapata and Theodoropoulos sat on the same finance committee I did. And at that time, our CFO Schwabe said the only ways that we can move forward and cut on this budget is reducing staff. That was right off the top. And we all agreed that we didn't want to do that, that we wanted to save the staff. That's with every department, not just one department. I lived through the furlough with our departments and our employees, and it wasn't easy, and it was difficult to run the government under those circumstances. And I certainly don't want to do that again. But we're all part of the gatehouse being kicked down and now we're paying for that. That gatehouse was in disrepair. We were keeping it together with Band-Aids. Sanford Avenue. These are issues that have been hanging and hanging. The firehouses, the roofs. Out here is an example. I mean, you walk down the stairs, we almost lost the stained glass window because of the leak. In the conference room, the leak started out to 4 inches. Within 6 months, it covered the whole wall. So these are the things that we have tried to address. As far as generating more money, we get pushbacks as soon as we increase fines and as soon as you increase having additional fees for licenses and stuff, we get pushback. So I am in agreement. I mean, I wish there was a way we could do it. I wish there was something that just jumped out at us and said, this is going to be the panacea for your budget issues. This is not going to be easy going forward, and hopefully we can work through it. But I'm voting. Schwabe, are you still on the line? He's still there? Okay. He's still there.
I'm here.
I'm voting yes. What was the final vote, Madam Clerk?
Mayor, the final vote is 4 noes, 5 yeses. The budget is not adopted.
So there you see it. At the beginning, the budget was not adopted. And 2 members of the budget committee who were fully aware that that vote, if it stood, would result in those layoffs of 20%, voted no, and therefore voted initially to say, go ahead and lay them off. At this point, cooler heads prevailed, and the mayor called upon Schwabe Faratsvi, the town CFO, who, by the way, was on vacation in Pakistan. There's a big time difference there. And he was on Zoom from Pakistan. His words were the ones that actually woke everybody the hell up. And it's a good thing it did, because if he hadn't spoken at this point, and let me tell you something. Schwabe did a great job explaining this, because it woke everybody up immediately. Here's what Schwabe had to say.
Mayor, if I can chime in?
We needed 6 votes.
We need 6 votes. Right, Schwabe? We need 6 votes to adopt the budget.
Yeah, we need 2/3 of the full governing body membership, so that would be 6 votes. I just want to say a few things. First of all, the very first finance committee we had, where we discussed the budget, I told the members of the committee that we are looking at a $3 to $4 million shortfall. And the impression, and maybe I was wrong, the impression I got from the members was, how do we make it work so we have a balanced budget? I didn't get a message to say, let's cut down the appropriation, let's cut down personnel cost. I think the directive I got was, how can we make it work and have a balanced budget? I may be wrong, it's been a long time, but so I think we did a good job trying to balance the budget,
Schwabe, you
whether
are
we are
correct.
using reserve, surplus. Revenues are capped out. So if somebody is suggesting to go back and look into the revenues, we are already maxed out on the revenues. The only other place where you can look for cuts is the appropriation. And just because you're adopting a budget tonight doesn't mean that you have to stop looking at this budget. We can have a finance committee meeting as early as when I'm back and still cut the costs. But to get to the appropriation cuts that you need, you'll be looking at some very tough decisions. The last 2 council meetings where you are promoting public safety members and appointing them, those will all have to be negated. In fact, looking at least a 10% personnel reduction to come up with $3.5 to $4 million of personnel cuts and appropriation cuts. So unless everybody on this governing body, is looking and okay with those decisions, that's the only way you can cut $4 or $5 million from your budget for next year or even this year. I was hoping, since we had at least 1 or 2 meetings with the finance committee, I shared all the information that was requested by the members, to at least have a positive vote come out from the finance committee members at least. And at this point, if this budget doesn't get adopted, all you're doing is giving the state an opportunity to come in and take control of your finances.
You heard that, right? Schwabe said it. I would have expected affirmative votes for members of the Finance Committee, but 2 of the 3 of them voted no at first. What world does this make sense?
And they are not going to care about how we as governing body of the town feel about personnel in the public safety areas or other areas. They will go strictly by the numbers and tell you to cut 10% of your police and fire forces, cut 10% of all your non-essential staff, cut 10-15% of your operating expenses. And they're not going to be asking you, they'll be directing you. So unless we are ready to live with those decisions, I strongly recommend that we adopt this budget and have at least one more positive vote and start working on this year's budget to cut costs so they can be effective January 1st, or start the budget process for next year today.
That was Schwabe for Osby. Cooler heads prevailed, and then the council got together. Councilman Zapata suggested, and they all agreed to this, that there be a 3-month period where they have meetings and look at ways to cut and things of that nature, and they all agreed upon that. And then they voted in favor of the budget afterward, 9-0. But God, I mean, what it took to get there should have happened before the vote was even taken. But you know, you cannot forget the reasons why. When you push it down the line as much as was pushed down the line for so many years, this is what the results are. Someone then has to make very, very difficult decisions. And in our world, that becomes the mayor. She made very, very difficult decisions that were put off for so many years. And that's very, very unfortunate. Now, after all this happens, one more person who is not an elected official spoke. And the words that he spoke were what I think are the most profound words that were spoken perhaps throughout the entire year 2025 at a council meeting. It's not somebody you might have expected to say these words. And this also connects into our next story after we get off the budget as well. But I want you to hear what Police Chief Scott McPhee said afterwards in discussion with Councilman Faceto about the budgetary process. And if you ask me, he deserves a raise. And his words are words that everybody could learn from. Here is Scott McPhee and Jerry Faceto.
Yes, Chief McPhee to come up to the microphone. But before I do, I want to mention, again, I see on social media the irresponsible reporting of people of incidents going on in town that just totally are not true. And it really disheartens me that people would post false information like that, worrying our residents. But we have gotten our mobile command center is in town. Again, I'm going to repeat, at no cost to the residents of the town of Kearny, due to the ingenuity of our Kearny Police Department, thinking outside the box on how we could acquire it. And I want to congratulate Chief McPhee on that. And I'd like to for him to mention to our residents and to the mayor and council some of the locations it will be at, so that our residents and our young people can get a new look at this new piece of equipment.
Thank you, Councilman. Before I did that, I just wanted to thank Schwabe for taking responsibility of the budget and allowing cooler heads to prevail. There's not a department in the town that could take a 10 to 20% reduction in the workforce. It doesn't work. Most of the departments are short already. let's find a way to increase revenue. I've been doing it within my own department, raising the fees. Let's start in that direction.
Do you see that? I've already been doing it in my department. Now let's all do it. If I can do it, or if I have to do it, we should all be doing it. And that's why I think what he said was just brilliant.
We brought up 50 liquor licenses right now. We're not even covering the cost of Pat Carpenter doing the research on those now. Should be a 100% increase on the cost of the liquor license within the town of Kearny. Raise another $25,000 right there, right? That's what we should be looking at, not cutting the workforce, like Trey brought out. Increase revenue, look for other ideas. I have a pretty good feeling if we go through and look at all our fees in all departments, we're undercharging by a lot compared to what other municipalities have.
That's right. That's correct.
So I think if each department, before we have our meeting, takes a look at what we're charging, we should have recommendations for you when you come to sit down with us.
That's a great suggestion. That would be really helpful to everybody that's sitting down at the table.
Chief Ting,
And that is exactly what Councilman Zapata suggested. Let's all sit down. Let's bang this out. Let's get this done. I'm not sure it happens without the chief.
and I already sat through potential layoffs, furloughs. We went a year without any overtime. It wasn't a good time at that point, and I don't think we want to put the employees through that again.
I don't want to live through that, and I said that at the meeting then, and I've repeated it again.
But to move on to the mobile command post, Councilman, it'll be out for the 4th of July. Residents are free to come up, take a walk through. There'll be officers manning that. It'll also be at the Elks Touch a Truck event. If we're welcome, we'll bring it over to the fire department open house. National Night Out, it'll be out.
4th of July.
Absolutely. We're open to suggestions. We want to get it out there. Like I said, it doesn't belong to the police department or to myself. It belongs to the community. We were able to purchase it through forfeited funds and at no cost to the taxpayer. We did trade in the boat that really didn't have a use in town anymore. It's been sitting here for almost 20 years, and we took a bad investment and turned it into a good investment.
But the fire department has a boat, so we're good.
Yes, yeah.
We're good.
And as far as irresponsible reporting, yes, someone did report today that there was a 2-year-old being held at gunpoint by the high school. Didn't happen. Luckily, Kevin Canessa reached out to me right away, and I was able to get the correct information to him, and he was able to do an update. So thank you, Kevin. I know you're listening. Anything else, Chair?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I do.
That all leads into 2 further stories that we need to talk about today. One is the use of social media, and the other is the new mobile command center. But let's start off with the social media posts and the way that people are using it in a reckless manner. What Chief McPhee just referred to was this post that was on social media and that a lot of people saw, and it scared the crap out of people. There was an incident on Elm Street, and you'll see that I blurted out the names. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have just left the names. There's one name under there, but that Ann Iora did not say anything, I don't think, in this. But there was the incident that was happening on Elm Street, and somebody said, apparently a guy with a gun held to his ex and kids. The man has a gun in his house. He does. There is truth to that. But at no point did this guy ever pull a gun and put it to the head of his wife or hold it against his wife and his children. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. Let's just say you live on Elm Street and you see a social media post that the guy next door or a couple doors away has a gun trained on his ex and his children. Number one, you believe it. And number two, what if there is somebody who thinks they need to help, despite the fact that the police are there? The irresponsible nature of saying something like this could have caused a major, major panic. And Lisa and I have been talking about this a lot over the last couple of weeks. And we are at the point where we think that when people make comments like this, they have to have some kind of consequence for doing so, when they say things that are just simply untrue. Maybe a visit from the police would be necessary. Maybe there needs to be a summons for causing a false public alarm when somebody goes out and says the guy's got a gun on his ex and his kids, when it didn't in fact happen. The problem with social media is, number one, people can too often live in anonymity, because now on these stupid message boards you can post anonymously, which may be the single worst thing that Meta has ever done with social media, Facebook. I don't understand that. And if you don't put, if you do put your name, even if you don't, you can just say whatever the hell you want, and damn what the consequences are. Okay, maybe that works in other worlds. It doesn't here. It cannot here. And until there are consequences, it's going to continue. And it happened again 24 hours later. Anyone know what's going on Forest Street near Schuyler School? There's a lot of police activity, caution tape, and the road is being blocked from traffic. Look at the last one. ICE is picking up legals and deporting them. I think it was probably meant to say illegals. ICE is picking up people and deporting them. I don't care where you stand on what's happening nationally with deportation of illegal immigrants. I do not care about that. That's not why I'm bringing this up. But why I am bringing it up is because if you know anything about the town of Kearny or some of the surrounding towns in Harrison and North Arlington, East Newark, Belleville, there's a lot of people, whether legitimately or not, are scared out of their minds to walk out of their homes. And I'm talking about some people who are here legally. Because if you look at the news, you know that there are some people who are being deported who are here legally. And then some genius goes on social media and says that they're out picking up illegals, or maybe legals is what he meant to say or she meant to say, and posts it on social media. People are going through enough right now as it is. And then someone goes out and makes a post like that. And I'm going to tell you something. There was no ICE presence in Kearny. So far as we know, there has not been any ICE presence in this town in the last 6 months. And there will be some people who say it's a joke, it's not meant to be real, but it doesn't matter. Again, there will be no consequences to this person for saying what was said here. Do you think that's right? If you think that's fair, if you think that is the way we as a community should operate, we don't see eye to eye, and we never will. But that's not the town I know. That's not this area that I know, that I've lived in for so long and love so much. This has to stop. And Lisa posted in the chat room, 100%, based on what we were talking about earlier. It has to have consequences. If there are no consequences to stuff like this, it's never going to stop. It's just not going to stop, and it's not fair to people who are trying to live their lives peacefully, get through the day, and are now scared out of their minds because of stuff like this, stupid, idiotic things like this. It is 7 minutes past the hour. Kevin Canessa here with you. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about that mobile command unit. You're watching the Observer Live. Don't go away.
Extra softness is what you get.
With extra value coronet. And extra absorbency is what you get.
With extra value coronet.
Seems like a lot of you are looking for more value in everything you buy, which must be why today you've made Coronet the fastest growing brand of paper products across America, and why I hear more and more of you singing, extra value is what you get
When you buy Coronet.
That was Rosemary Clooney back in the 80s. Just a brief pause for us right here. It is 8 minutes past the hour. Kevin Canessa here with you on the Observer Live. All right, now, let's take a look at this. This is pretty damn cool. Okay, I need to switch over, however, because I think I'm on the wrong screen. Just bear with me for a second. Why isn't it working? Hold on, just bear with me, everybody. I have these pictures from the command center. Okay. Last week, I had an opportunity to go over to the new mobile command unit and command center that Councilman Facito and Chief McPhee were talking about earlier on in the broadcast. And it's right now parked on Elm Street by the police station across the street. But Sergeants Tom Smikowski and Rich Poplawski invited me over with Councilman Facito, and I had a chance to tour the mobile unit. And it was unbelievable. It really was an incredible experience for me to get to see this. But what you're looking at right now is the first spot that the officers will monitor. You see those 9 screens there that are on the screen in the middle? Those 9 screens are of cameras that are mounted to this mobile unit. It is pretty damn impressive. Those cameras, some are fixed, one is on a mast and can be raised, and it can be turned 360 degrees, and people will be able to see the officers who are using it, which will be Tom and Rich, most of the time. They'll be able to use it to zoom in, zoom out, look for missing children, look for a missing suspect, anything of that nature. On the left of the screen is a regular computer where the officers will be able to get in and read all of the computer-aided dispatch, any data that a police officer would need in the course of fighting crime. It is such an impressive unit, and it was originally owned by the military. And because the town was able to get those forfeited funds, it didn't cost a penny for the taxpayer to get this unit. You will see it first on the 4th of July over on Belgrove Drive, and it is really something to behold. Let me show you some of the rest of it. This is the inside conference room. All of these monitors can be hooked up to computers or drones or cameras. So all the drones that Jordy Jean and Rich Pulaski put out, you'll be able to monitor them remotely. They can hook up other computers. You can watch regular television, all things that you would do in a home or in an office. It is nothing, just absolutely incredible. This is Tom Smikowski. He is the technology director for the Kearny Police Department. He has basically put all this together. It had to be adjusted from the original setup from the military, but he is an utter genius when it comes to technology. He does all the radios, he does all the internet stuff, and things of that nature for the Kearny Police Department. And that's him with Councilman Facito last week inside the conference center. Here is the, let's see, it's not showing here. Let me just take these down for a second. This is the inside of the cab. It is a Mercedes-Benz vehicle where 2 people can ride in it. They picked it up down south, did Rich and Tom, and brought it back up here. When they not driving it, they don't have to put the engine doesn't have to be kept on because there's generators in the rear, all diesel engines. And here finally is the exterior of the unit that eventually will have Kearny Police Department with the graphics and things of that nature on the side. They're not there right now. That is Deputy Chief Paul Brzezinski to the left, then Sergeant Tom Simkowski, Sergeant Rich Poplawski, and Councilman Jerry Facito right there in the picture. If you are at the fireworks celebration on the 4th, on Friday, stop by and see this thing. It is impressive. And you see that big satellite dish there, too. Don't forget this was a military vehicle. And then at the rear of the vehicle, that's the mast with the camera attached to it that can be turned in 360 degrees to get a look at just about anything. It is an impressive vehicle. It's one of only a few in all of Hudson County. We understand, Jersey City has one, Bayonne has one, and the county prosecutor's office does too. But on this side of the river, nobody has a mobile command unit like this at all. And as Jerry said in his speech at the council meeting, it's the ingenuity of people like Scott McFig who used forfeited funds from crimes to pay for this vehicle. Think about that. Not a single penny was used of taxpayer funds to buy this vehicle. It is something great, and it will certainly benefit Kearny. And my guess, at some point, it will benefit other towns as well. And here's the other thing, it's not just for fireworks, celebrations, and things of that nature. If somebody goes missing, if there's a barricaded subject, there's so many different things that this vehicle can be used for. You can also climb up on the top. There's a ladder in the back of the truck. You can climb up to the top of the vehicle. And Rich Poplawski was saying that the drone unit could easily allow the drones to take off and land on top of that unit if you want to stay out of the way, not put the public in any danger, anything of that nature. It's really something. But if you get a chance, and if you go to the 4th of July celebration on Friday night, my suggestion would be that if you get a chance, you take a look at what they've got. It's really something else. Now, also that same day, it was Thursday, Sergeant Jack Grimm and the Community-Oriented Policing Unit had a presentation for senior citizens about scams. It's very frightening how much this is growing in the United States and across the globe, really. But I hope you'll read the story. If you are a senior citizen, it is most important that you're aware of the signs of a scam. There are so many different ways that people scam you. A lot of times it happens from people who are out of the country, India, Nigeria, Pakistan. But the things that they do to scam people is just nothing short of sickening. It really is. So if you know a senior, ask them to read the story. The seniors who were at the Henrietta Benstead on Thursday of last week were talking about how many times they get calls like this where they're being scammed. Thank God so many of them are smart, but not everybody understands that they're being scammed. So please remind seniors in your life, whether it's family, friends, neighbors, whatever it is, these scams are real. And the tips that Sergeant Grimm and Officer Janitza Aquino put together were nothing short of spectacular. So please, when you get a chance, check that out. Now, there are two more things I need to get to really quick. And this was something really cool. These photos were taken by Alyssa and Michael Machado. They were down in Washington, D.C. on Saturday, and Girl Scouts of Troop 2771 placed a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. And you see the wreath that they did present to the tomb was donated by the American Legion Post 99 of Kearny. The Girl Scouts are celebrating an anniversary this year, and Mary Beth Kennedy was able to bring the girls down to D.C. They were supposed to meet with Senator Cory Booker. I don't remember exactly what happened. If I'm not sure exactly whether or not they were able to meet with Senator Booker, but what you see right here on the left-hand side are 4 of the scouts. That's Faith Kennedy all the way on the left in the back, and they left the wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It was a beautiful ceremony, and I want to thank Alyssa and Michael so much for sharing those photos with us, and I certainly thank Mary Beth for doing this and bringing awareness to the kids about the military and all the things that are important for them to know about. And I hope we have a story about this coming up. So it was a very, very moving day, to say the least. And now on a personal note, real quick, I had oral surgery done on Friday, and I wasn't able to make this, as disappointing as it was. I wasn't supposed to have it done on a Friday, but I did. And Denise and Jerry Facito were honored for 46 years of marriage on Friday night at the Harrison Elks. And if you wonder why 46, that's not exactly a common number, is it? The reason they did that was because last year, their 45th anniversary, unfortunately, Denise had serious surgery to be done, and they could not celebrate their 45th anniversary. But 1 year later, at 46, Alyssa Machado, their daughter, put this beautiful party together and celebrated 2 incredible people who I love very much, and I wish them all the best for many, many more years of marriage. They are 2 special people, to say the very least. Happy anniversary, Denise and Jerry. And again, I'm sorry I could not have been there. And that is going to do it for this edition of the Observer Live. We went a little long today, 50 minutes, so I apologize for that. But there was a lot to get to today. So if there is anything to report during the course of the week, we'll bring it to you, of course. I don't think it will necessarily, but 4th of July coming up on Friday. We won't be having Tony next Friday, but the week after we will be back with Tony for weather. But if anything does happen during the course of the week, we will bring it to you live then. But that's going to do it. So from the home studio today, this is Kevin Canessa signing off for now, and we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. And before I sign off, I want to say hello to Robert Gerstenmeyer, who is here. John Pino is here. Louis Soto is here. Jenny Paz, Lisa was here also. Bill Pettigrew was with us. Henry Atwell, and Carol Manley as well. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.